Hi, welcome back to Fresh Faces, New Ideas. My name is David. If you like the channel and you enjoy what I do, please like and subscribe. Please follow me on Twitter at Faces Ideas. And you can listen to me on Fridays on the Center Left Radio podcast. So for this video, we're going over the Biden infrastructure plan. Now, it was unveiled yesterday. It's $2.3 trillion. It varies, but the plan itself is 2.3. There's some talk of it being 3 with some other stuff being put in, but so far what's been unveiled is $2.3 trillion. Now, this is going to be his next big priority, and it appears how they're going to pass it. The hope is that they might have to do another reconciliation with it. I'll go over that later, but we're going to go into this bill. We're going to go into what it is, how it's going to be paid for, the arguments against it. I do have to say, if this is what they're going to focus on, I have no problem with these type of big, massive spending bills. My issue is if they see that these bills are going to just be overly blocked by Republicans, they refuse to help again for another bill, just remove the filibuster and then go pass H.R. 1 and S.R. 1, because we saw it in Georgia. They're already starting. There's a bill in Florida that's worth looking at as well. But here's the main point of this video is to the infrastructure bill. So let's take a look at what the infrastructure bill is. Okay. So what's in Biden's plan? This is the USA Today. So this breaks it down into the four major parts. I will link this, and I will link the White House's own fact sheet to the video so people can see it. The plan will make a massive investment in American roadways, railroads, bridges, the focus on clean energy. This would spend $174 billion, about 28% of the transportation portion, on electric vehicles. That includes a network of 500,000 electric vehicle stations, using electric vehicles in bus fleets, replacing the federal government's fleet of diesel transit vehicles with electric vehicles. So I'm not going to read all this. I'll just show you what it says. So including electric vehicles, this is Amtrak repair. This is a big one. So infrastructure reliancy to withstand climate related disasters. Every single year, we see the cost of climate change go up over and over and over again. We've had once in 100-year floods every 10 years. We've had, I think we had multiple Category 5 hurricanes currently at the same time this year. It was bad. Like the cost of not preparing for climate change and not fighting it is just astronomical, and it goes up every year. The U.S. military has said that the largest threat to them is climate change because it's going to affect all their bases and affect everything. Modernize bridges, highways, roads, main streets that are most critically in need of repair. Modernize public transit, connect neighborhoods historically cut off from investment. Increase ports, upgrade airports, and improve road safety. So let's go over a couple of these. Modernize bridges. Look, everyone knows that U.S. infrastructure is not good. We currently rank 13th in the world, but worrying about how high we rank is not the issue. Is if you fix these things, it will cost less, and you'll have less potholes. That'll cause accidents. Bridges will be able to run more efficiently. Things will just run faster, and then you can increase the economy. Modernize public transit. There are plenty of places in the world that have significantly better public transit than we do, because it's not always feasible to have a car, especially in large cities like New York and California, where the traffic is just unbelievable. Having good public transit helps immensely. It would help increase productivity. It would help increase people being able to flow in and out of the city. It would make things better just having that. So connect neighborhoods. The example in the government's actual website page is that they're using example in New Orleans, and then one in Syracuse about a highway that cut people off. So this is all good. Look, I like this. This sounds very good. $621 billion is a lot. So this number for just the infrastructure was what the Republicans wanted to do for the entirety of COVID. Also, having electric vehicles. Look, we talk about this all the time. And this was one of Joe Biden's biggest things for whatever his Green New Deal was, or his idea for, fixing the climate change, is to have 100,000 charging stations. So he wanted to put these in so that the use of electric cars could be more effective. And as we know, a whole bunch of corporations said that they're going to produce only electric cars by 2025. So building the infrastructure now might allow them to push that ahead, and then we would have more electric vehicles. And as we have more electric vehicles, we don't need to put so much money into oil and gas, so that we can focus some of those subsidies into other places, other green energy, and produce the actual green energy to help keep the country running without having to worry about the fossil fuels. All right, so let's go to part 2. So part 2 is quality of life at home. The largest part of the plan focused on Americans' homes, school buildings, underground water infrastructure, and broadband expansion. This plan would spend $213 billion to build, preserve, and retrofit more than 2 million affordable homes and commercial buildings. This includes the construction or rehabilitation of 500,000 homes for low and middle income work owners. Additional $111 billion will go toward clean drinking water, including replacement of lead pipes and service lines. Constructing modernized public schools, high-speed broadband. So let's just go through these points right now. So refitting homes. Part of the argument against the Green New Deal is, they just want to take all the windows away from buildings. That's not what it is. It's allowing them to be more economically sound by retrofitting them toward more green energy, sealing the holes, making it more cost efficient. So that's good. Also, this last line, $100 billion toward clean drinking water, including replacement of all lead pipes and service lines. How long has Flint, Michigan not had clean water? They still don't trust that the water is clean, and this happened 2013, around that time. I mean, it's been almost 10 years. Also, this was not reported very well. Jacksonville didn't have clean drinking water for a month after the storms and stuff. They just didn't have clean drinking water for just a month because their pipes and stuff were so bad. So the fact that we live in the 21st century, in the wealthiest country in the world, and people have to worry about whether the water they drink is clean or going to give their kids lead poisoning is a massive problem. That's a huge problem. $100 billion for constructing and modernizing schools. This is amazing, as long as it goes towards schools that really need it. There's a lot of low-income areas that need schools that they don't have enough room for their classrooms. They don't have enough books. They need better ventilation. There was a story a couple years ago about an African-American school in Baltimore that had to have their kids wear coats all the time because it was freezing because they didn't have any actual heating in the winter. So there's a lot of good stuff in this, as long as it's actually making the schools better, and especially public schools, because that's where a lot of the money keeps getting cut from in there. And then for the use of high-speed broadband, if there is ever a time to prove that broadband is important and you can say, you can just live without the internet, this pandemic proved that's not possible. And we know there are areas of the country where broadband is not like a realistic thing. You have to hope and pray, or it's just not built up to a way where it could be effective for people to exist in that area. So expanding our broadband capability is fantastic. It would allow people to have access to new jobs. It would allow people to work from home more. It would allow just tons of new infrastructure built. Just building this stuff would create millions and millions of jobs. It would also drive down prices, because if you're in an area where there's only one service provider and they can charge you whatever they want, bringing in more broadband and having other corporations compete with each other would actually drive the prices down. So this would help everybody across the country. It's like unimaginable that you can't have access to good broadband in this country. It is too basic to the way we function at this point to not have it. So $40 billion to improve public housing. Of course, always, public housing could always be improved. Veterans Affairs, hospitals and clinics. Now, keep in mind, we always hear this false argument of, why are we helping illegal immigrants when we have homeless veterans? Well, here's $18 million for veterans and clinics. When Republicans vote against this bill, they're voting against helping veterans every single time. Every single time. This is the community college infrastructure is similar to the public school infrastructure, just helping them. $16 million to plug oil and gas wells and reclaim abandoned mines. So this one, this talks about it more in the other fact sheet, but I'm only going to go for that for some of it, is that we can push these jobs, like as we move away from coal and oil into more clean green energy jobs. We have to plug these wells. So this was Joe Biden, one of the things he was saying. He's like, look, we can just cap all of these wells, and put these as union jobs. These would be union jobs in order to put all these people at work. I mean, sure, they'd be temporary, but while we're capping this, we can build up the infrastructure for everything else, for them to transition to other jobs. So this would be, I think, I don't remember what the number was, but it was a massive number for jobs just from this type of billing. So let's see. So this is caregivers for elderly and people with disabilities. $400 billion to improve access, quality, affordable home or community care base for elderly people and people with disability. Expand a Medicaid program to make more services available and eliminate a backlog that prevents thousands from getting care. So this is the exact opposite of what I was talking about a couple of days ago with the anti-trans bill, where they were cutting health care from people. This is expanding. Look, Medicare does need to be expanded. I know Bernie is currently working on a bill that would drop the age to 55, and it would expand it for dental and eye care and hearing aids. So this would help thousands of old people. This would also boost healthcare workers. Now, this is especially important now, as we've seen that one of the highest risk jobs during the pandemic was for old elderly people, healthcare workers, because that was where the concentration for the highest death rates were, because they were the highest people who were affected by the virus. So their healthcare workers needs to be paid more. Even $12 an hour, because look, they just lost on the minimum wage bill that should have been 15. And if you look at keeping up with price of inflation, it should be 23. So this idea that raising the wages is good. Now this is definitely going to be one of the sticking points. And the argument against it, and I'm going to talk about that, is it doesn't have to do with infrastructure, except having old people have actual homes would create more jobs anyway. Giving them more Medicare would cause less of a strain on the system. So while, yes, it's not directly infrastructure bills, there's nothing wrong with putting it in this bill. Let's go to the fourth one. Research, development, manufacturing. About $300 billion in the plan would be invested in manufacturing, including support for domestic products of technologies and critical goods. $50 billion would go towards semiconductor manufacturing research. $100 billion on new research, $180 billion on new research and development with an emphasis on clean energy, fewer emissions, and climate change research. This $100 billion for worker training and increase of worker protection programs. So this is all about pushing toward green energy. Now we know the future ultimately has to be green energy. We just know it. The only other outcome is just getting destroyed by climate change and just making the world worse and worse. So the first country that can figure out how to actively have a green infrastructure, whether it's the solar plates, whether it's wind farms, whether it's whatever else. I think nuclear has to be used as some type of stopgap. This would give that country a massive leg up into the future of the workforce. So having $100 billion for workers' training and protection would help transition the workforce as we move away from coal and oil into a more green economy. So this is good. And we have to keep investing. Part of our problem is we've defunded the schools so much that we don't have people in STEM enough. And this would help push people toward that. So then how is this paid for? Now, this is a misleading statement in this article. Biden wants to raise the corporate tax rate to 28% to pay for the plan. That's the percentage corporations paid before the Donald Trump tax cut in 2017. He also wants to raise the minimum tax on multinational corporations to 21%. Both, this one might be correct. This statement is incorrect. The corporate tax rate before the Trump tax cuts was 35%, not 21%, not 28%. So currently it's at 21%. This is the second part of the plan. So it's going to be, he's going to have an infrastructure plan and he's going to have a Made in America tax plan. So this is going to, this is how he's going to help pay for the other plan is with these tax hikes. So for the actual payment of the plan, let's go look at this sheet because it has a really good argument for it. Alongside the American Jobs Plan, President Biden is releasing a Made in America tax plan, which will make sure corporations pay their fair share in taxes and encourage job creation at home. A recent study found that 91 Fortune 500 companies paid $0 in federal tax on U.S. income in 2018. Zero. And now it's 2020, and some of these corporations are bigger. This goes to companies like Amazon. This goes to companies like Ford. There's massive corporations that some of the wealthiest corporations in the history of the planet paid zero in taxes because of the Trump tax cut. And it goes further. Another study found the average corporation pays just 8% in taxes. So let's go over this very quickly, because here's the argument against it. The argument against it is, if we keep our tax rate where it was, which was 35% originally, and then it was dropped down to 21%, we're actually hurting corporations because they're not being able to compete around the other world, where they're not going to stay here when they can go somewhere else that has lower taxes. But they don't pay any taxes now. Even at 31.5%, when the tax rate was 35%, they only paid 21%. The real actual tax rate they paid was 21%. And then when the Trump administration cut down to 21%, they didn't close any of the loopholes. So here's the only acceptable alternative to not putting it up to 35% again, is if you're going to close all those loopholes. So they're actually paying 28%, because currently they're paying 8% in taxes. So even if you look at what the current tax rate was, which is 21%, they're paying a third of this. And I had a video about this a couple of weeks ago, where I was talking about how the top 1% pays about 13% of their taxes. And over a decade, that came out to $7.5 trillion. So the fact these corporations are paying 1/3 of the current tax rate means that if you wanted to make it an actual acceptable level, and you kept all of this garbage, all the ways that they don't pay their taxes, we're going to keep it on this percentage, you would need to have a 90% tax rate for them to pay 30%. So that's what they're arguing. I think it should go back to at least 35%, because even this, if the argument here is that we're going to raise the tax rate a little and Republicans are going to side with us, and Republicans say no, every single time they say no, raise the tax rate another percentage point. Just say it every time. The longer you fight us, the higher we're going to raise the tax rate on this, because it's irrelevant what you want, because you don't want to help the American people. If you're willing to stop this infrastructure plan over the tax rate, how do you expect to pay for these things? Because this is the counter argument. You want to do massive spending bills, but you don't want to raise taxes to do it. So how else do you do it? Well, you either borrow the money from the future from other countries to raise the debt, or you cut Social Security and you cut other programs that help the American people, and that just doesn't make any sense to be able to do that. So this plan would also eliminate the rule that companies pay no tax on the first 10% of returns when they locate investment in other countries. That's good. More taxes there. So let's see the real obstacles. This article talks about how people aren't happy with this. This says that part of the Democrats want it to be paid for just by raising taxes, but there's other parts that want to do it by having more tax cuts. This is stuff about the SALT tax. I know my representative has talked about the SALT tax. This is something else they're fighting. Now, here's the thing of this. This bill, the way they think they can do this is through creating another budget reconciliation. Look, if you have to pass all of these bills by creating a separate budget reconciliation, and you keep saying we want to work with Republicans, and they refuse to work with you, and the only way you can get things done is by a party line vote, at what point do you decide that the filibuster is no longer important? All right, so let's wrap this up. So I like this bill. I think there's a lot of good things in it. I think investing in our infrastructure is obvious. It's obvious that we have to do more to invest in the infrastructure. I think having more green energy, more good roads, more infrastructure for the electric cars will be a massive benefit. There's things that we have to do to help make America competitive. And this is the point. Like, the fact that Donald Trump had so many infrastructure weeks, and he had full control of Congress, and they couldn't get anything done because he could have gotten Democrats on his side. They just didn't do any of the work to do it, is an indictment of the Trump administration. So the fact that we're going to have to see which Republicans are going to fight this, which I imagine it was all. And if they have to ultimately pass this by creating another budget reconciliation, I think this spells the end of the filibuster. And I really hope that while they're doing this, they're also pushing SR 1. Because it is incredibly important to have voting rights protected. I'm going to do another video about that after this. So, to recap, this is a good spending bill. I wish the taxes were higher on it. If you're trying to keep the taxes lower to appease the Republicans, it will not happen. You will not appease any Republicans to vote for this bill. They would not vote for the American Rescue Plan, which had a 75% approval. I can't imagine they will vote for this bill either. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please follow me on Twitter @FacesIdeas, and I will see you in the next one.